Hey everybody, and welcome to a new episode of Docs That Rock from Indie Film Cafe. I'm your old pal, the Moo Cow, aka Paulie Presenza, and I'm joined by
Jonathan A. Moody, your co-host.
Yay! And today we are doing an Earl Morris film called Gates of Heaven.
I've heard of this. I heard of this movie.
It's a really good film. And
wait, is it about the pet cemetery?
Yeah,
I think we were talking about this. I think that's probably what got you thinking about it.
That's one of the touchstone documentaries that are out there that if you haven't seen it, you definitely need to see it. It's very, very cool. It's very, very interesting. And
I've seen the preview of it.
He's one of the sort of documentary directors that are out there. So yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's very cool. It's another one of those movies that I was lucky and I got to see it in the theater when it came out. It was really, really cool. So at the time, this and American Movie were two of my favorite films that came out around the same period. And it's just like, it really, really made me appreciate the documentary.
Wait, it came out at the same time as American
Roughly,
Movie?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, so it's really, really cool. And you've never seen it, right?
No.
Right.
I know of it, and I saw the preview to it recently, and I was like, oh, this is cool.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm sure this will be so I mentioned it to you, and you were like, yep, that's on my list.
Oh, yeah, it's on the list. So we will come back, and we will talk about Gates of Heaven.
Gates of Heaven, baby.
All right. Bye. Docs.
Hello.
It's a little chilly in the studio, so we're wrapping up.
Well, we're not wrapping up the show, but we're wrapping up.
No, but we're going to wrap up about this film.
Yeah.
So this was the first time you saw this?
Yep.
So what did you think?
I liked it.
It's an interesting film. It's about sort of a subject that nobody really ever talks about. It's unique, but it's really not so much about the topic so much as about the people behind it.
Mm-hmm.
Earl Morris is the kind of documentarian who he basically just sets up the camera and lets the people be themselves. He doesn't interfere. He doesn't say anything. He never appears as a character or a voice or anything. Because some directors, like
Michael Moore,
or other people, either become characters or you at the very least hear them in the background. He doesn't do that. He pretty much just allows the people, the subject matter, to explain themselves, just be themselves. And they're kind of an odd collection of people.
Odd ducks.
They are. They're really a bunch of odd ducks, and that's kind of what I get out of it. Is you get to meet these people who are obsessed over their thing and why and how they are.
We saw like at the end they had like a whole chest set up for the grave and everything, and I'm like, good God.
Right, and it's people who themselves are odd sometimes. I mean, people go a little nuts about their pets. I mean, everyone loves their pets, but
here's my pet.
Some people go a little nuts. They go a little above and beyond, and man, they will spend all kinds of money.
Mm-hmm.
It's
and
just
that's
crazy.
just money, but like time, and I mean, so I might have mentioned this earlier. I might not have, but I know I talked to you about it. Like we have a pet cemetery in our backyard. We put, and it's in an Indian burial ground. I'm sure, burial.
Why not?
So whatever. But they've never come back to life and haunted us, that we know of. But we've had animals there, since like, I don't know, like one of the first dogs we had, Duffy, I think is in that backyard, and Lady is there, and Moxie and Spanky and all these amazing dogs and cats and whatnot. Those are the only animals we had were dogs and cats, so those are the animals that are there. And what we would do is like we would just, my dad would dig a hole, and then we would just place it usually from in a blanket or whatever, covered up in a blanket, and then the animal will go into the hole, and that'll be their burial spot. We don't cremate the dogs and cats or whatever. We bury them, and it's it's always sort of nice. We have a little funeral, small one, like where we just say nice things about the animal or whatever, and then move on and whatnot. And then if you go in my backyard, you can see like plots for some of the animals.
So it's just like a normal family member.
Yeah, but instead of like we don't bury it out in the middle of like the fields or whatever, like over by the roadside where.
Yeah, and that's the thing too is it's a little odd that some people want to bury them in a place that's not where they are. I mean, I guess not everybody has property.
Yeah, and they can't do that.
But you would think that if you did, you'd want to keep them nearby.
Now, I mean, it is legal, right? I mean, to bury your animals to wherever you want, right?
More or less, yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's not like that's the problem. I guess the problem most people have is just maybe a lot of times people want to cremate their animals because they just don't want to.
That's what our family always did. If there was a critter that we were particularly happy with, they would get cremated. Then the ashes would be put in a special container. Now, for my brother's animals, they actually got buried with him after they were cremated. But
that's what he wanted.
Oh, well, that's what he got. So.
That's not what he wanted. Jesus.
Well, nobody knew what he wanted.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
He never said that. Okay.
But I'm sure he would have preferred that.
He would have been happy with having the animals with them. Okay.
Right, but like when Fluffer died this year, my sister had him cremated, and he's in a little urn, and he's got his own little special place, and
I mean, it just depends on what your family is like, and like. We talk about these people being kind of kooky and kind of weird, but like, I mean, they just love their animals. Like,
well, yeah, and the thing is that the topic diverts itself into all the other topics. So they start talking about religion and philosophy and different parts of life and what is life and
where did the dogs end up?
Where do all these topics sort of start to converge? And that's kind of where it's interesting too, because they talk about a wide-ranging amount of things.
Well, yeah, they also talk about the insurance business and other things that they do for their regular life, and
personal beliefs.
I like how it started, where it was pretty much talking about how the guy just had the idea that he wanted to do this, and then he met another guy, and the other guy had the same idea. And it just worked out, and I'm like, that's wonderful.
At least temporarily worked out.
Yeah, I think it. Yeah.
And then they had to dig up the original one and move 400 dead pets. I'm like, oh my god.
Jesus, yeah, that was a lot of work.
And then he was out of it, and then the new people took over.
Yeah, because the people did tell them they could do it there or whatever, that they had the property, that they were allowed the property and stuff, but it's just insane.
I'm very curious though, because that was 1979, and I don't know that you couldn't buy that kind of property now in California. I don't even know if that place is there. They probably sold it because it's worth a lot more money now to be developed than it would be for a pet cemetery. Especially that close to San Francisco.
Yeah, it was over in Napa Valley too.
I'd be very curious to look that up. I've never really done any research on that.
On where it is or whatever?
Yeah, if it's still around. Because I imagine you could get a lot more money selling it than you would as a pet cemetery.
Yeah.
So it's interesting.
We are out here in Fort Monroe, and Fort Monroe has a pet cemetery.
Yes, we do.
And I remember when I first saw that, I thought it was so cute, because they got all the pictures of all the dogs and stuff, and you said even people sneak in and bury their own pets and stuff, which they're not supposed to do, but
no, they're not.
They do it anyway. And I don't blame them. I mean, I'd rather have if I couldn't have my pet where I lived or whatever, I would want them, in a place where they were surrounded by other pets,
Well, like I said,
even though that was illegal.
Yeah, it's better off cremating them, putting them in an urn, and then taking them with you. This way they're with you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Now, there are other people who do other weird things, like the people who get them stuffed and lifelike, and
Yeah.
they look still alive, and then they bring them around.
Is it taxidermy?
Yeah,
or something?
that's really weird. That to me, that's for like people who really can't let go. You know what I mean?
No, I wouldn't like that. I wouldn't like because like say I did that with Lady, I'd have to look at Lady all the time like that. It'd just be really creepy to
It
me.
would be very creepy.
I don't like it.
But yeah, there are people who have trouble dealing with the concept of death.
I mean, I have Lady as my wallpaper thing on my phone. You know, but like that's sort of
And you know, it's funny because pets are sweet. They manifest their own individual personalities, and they mean something. And when they go, it's heartbreaking, and that's kind of the problem. That's one of the things I learned early on is like, you're investing in a heartbreak. So do I really want to do this? Because you're going to get very, very attached and close to this creature, and it's not designed to last the same time as you.
I actually thought about it, and I was like, why is it that they have such short lifespans? And I was like thinking, you know how many dogs would be alive right now? And like if my dog Casey, which was like the first dog I ever had or whatever, was still alive because she was, 60 or whatever, how old, but like she was still around, she would I wouldn't have had my other dogs because my dad would only want like one dog.
Plus, it does help teach you certain things, especially for kids. But I heard somebody said that your dog is your best friend for part of your life, but you are your dog's best friend for its entire life.
That's true.
So there's that whole idea of you can learn a lot about relationships with people and with everybody else by the relationships you develop with an animal. Especially when you figure one of the hallmark characteristics of somebody who's like sociopathic or psychopathic is the fact that they have no empathy to animals, and they'll start off.
That's how they kill. They
start off killing or torturing animals before they go to humans. That's kind of where they learn it. Which, it sucks because, God, I'd save an animal first, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
'Cause they're so sweet and innocent.
Yeah, because they can't help it, That's sort of how I feel about animals. Like, I think I've talked to you. Jackie loves animals, right?
Oh, yeah.
But she loves people first. She says that. She'd save a human before she would save a dog. Now, she loves her dogs. That doesn't mean she wouldn't want to save her dogs. It's just that she feels that a lot of times people tend to love their animals way more than they love people themselves.
People will put their animals first.
I know, and that's not. She doesn't believe that's the way it should be. It should be people first, because we all have to live together, and we all should be first. We're humans and stuff. I don't know. I kind of agree, but
I mean,
I'm also...
all I can tell you is when I watch a movie and people are killed, I don't really, it's not that big of a deal. But if you kill an animal in a film, I'm going to be really ticked off.
Thanks, director of John Wick.
Yeah, exactly. It's just, you don't do that. That's one of the no-nos, one of the cardinal no-nos in filmmaking. And there's a reason for that, because, we don't want to see that.
Well, we're, like, I think... As you said, like, we're the best friends for all their lives. So I truly believe that, like, pets, are our lifeline. Like, they are the things that like keep us sort of sane.
I can never forget when we showed Joe Turek Wonton Ton, the dog who saved Hollywood. And there's a scene that's supposed to be funny, where the dog is depressed and he sticks his head in an oven.
How was that funny? How was that
it's in
funny?
really bad taste.
Why was that supposed to be funny? That's not funny.
I did not write that, but did Joe get ticked off. He hated that.
He did not like that scene. But I didn't like that scene either. I mean, I don't like that kind of stuff. Like, I don't like dogs.
I mean, it's the idea is that it's supposed to be the dog is just like a human being and gets depressed, but you didn't need to see that.
No. I mean, and you know what? That's the one thing I hate about like horror films that like try to go beyond the limit or whatever.
Well,
And a lot of times they'll like kill a dog just because they know people.
you have no idea. My friend Gary was here this weekend, and he was going to join us, but he had other obligations, unfortunately. But I did get one night where we watched a couple of movies. We started watching a movie that is infamous that I have it's called A Calamity of Snakes, and it's an Asian film, and it's about these people who get cursed by snakes, like all over the place. But the thing is that they use real snakes and they kill real snakes on film right in front of you.
Can't do it
because it's in Asia and it's a different world over there. And man, we did about 10 minutes of that and we're like, okay, we can't do this. No.
It's just like, there's that what is it, Cannibal Holocaust as the scene, and I know me and Kate Phoenix are supposed to do the whole extreme horror podcast at some point, and that is on the list of movies. And one of the reasons I never really wanted to watch it was because I heard they actually rip open a turtle and stuff like that, like and they kill all these animals for real. But when you think about like, there was another one. There was a Walkabout had like somebody killed a kangaroo, and it was a real kangaroo. They really killed the kangaroo.
Apocalypse Now famously had the cow towards the end that gets slaughtered, and there were people that are really pissed off about it. In fact, Francis Ford Coppola to this day gets shit about it, and he has to defend himself. He says, "We did not direct that. We didn't have that happen. That was happening anyway." That's been happening in that village for years. That's how they eat. That's how they feed themselves. Mm-hmm. They just let us film it. And in fact, they even said, "Hey, we'll do another one for you if you want, in case you didn't get the shots you wanted." And he was like, "No, we got it. It's fine.
We're fine."
But it's a shot. And I remember it's another one when I saw it when I was a kid. That freaking haunted me. That haunted me worse than any. And there's a lot of shocking shit.
Oh, you're a cow
well,
fanatic,
yeah, but just to see that was pretty horrific.
But and then when I saw the Walkabout one, and then later I read that they ate it, because that's what they do in Australia. They eat kangaroo, and they do not like kangaroo because kangaroos are actually not good. They cause a lot of trouble and stuff like that. So they love to like kill and hunt kangaroos. And I was like thinking about I guess
they're so cute.
I know I could never do that. I can't even eat kangaroo because I just
doesn't sound good.
No, but then but the worst part was hearing the kangaroo go right while it was getting it killed, and I was just like, no. I was like, that was real. Like I didn't want to see that. And so, like, I don't like that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that kind of shit. If you're unfortunate to hear an animal when it cries and it's death, that's not. It is very bad.
And it was hard to watch that movie, but I think I even stopped it after that. Not because I hated that, but like, I couldn't continue at that time. I think it skipped on me and it kept messing up, so I need to fix it. But anyway, the point is that I was loving the movie up until then, and I was like. That got turned, and then I read about it, and I read that like they ate it, and that's what they did on Cannibal Holocaust, is because they were really in the jungles and shit, and that's what the people did, is they ate the stuff, and that to me, like you saying that the villagers were eating the cow or whatever and stuff like that, and that's how they eat, and that's how they live. It's just to us when we're not there in the middle of that stuff,
right? And it's I understand people being upset about it, but you gotta understand it's mostly because you're not there. You don't think about what happens to these animals. You're happy to eat them, but you don't want to have to watch what happens, and that's what happens in this time, is that you end up seeing it. Now the Calamity of Snakes was a bit different because that was just a bunch of snakes that they killed because they wanted to show the footage of it, and it's just it's pretty horrific.
Terrible. Like,
it's really
give
bad.
fucking rubber snakes. I don't give a fuck. Give rubber snakes. Don't kill real snakes. But
it was bad.
But anyway, to go back to Gates of Heaven, which always reminds me of Heaven's Gate.
Heaven's Gate.
Yeah, And it's a completely different movie, by the way. So
I would love to see Christopher Walken in this film narrating it or something and dancing around through the graves or something.
Yeah, or
So
just
funny.
talking like, my job is to, like that was very like William Shatner.
Right.
No,
Right.
I can't do Christopher Walken. But anyway, the point is that so Gates of Heaven. Basically, I mean, I enjoyed it. Like, I enjoyed the quirky people. A lot of them really truly love their animals. I enjoyed hearing about the what it takes to make that stuff, to do all that stuff, because I never thought about it as a business, like, because for me, once again, it's burying my pets out in the backyard, but like, they were talking about how if a horse died on the farm, or an elephant or something, you have to get rid of it.
Yeah, what are you gonna do?
So what are you gonna do? You're gonna call these people. They're gonna come and pick it up, and they're gonna bury it, and they'll figure out a place to put it and whatnot, and that's their job. And I was like, that's okay. That's pretty cool. I like that. I didn't mind that at all. So.
Well, and it's true. The thing is, it's a way to utilize your land so that it's actually producing something for you. I mean, it's really kind of passive income. But then I like how they changed everything so that you could have all these different kinds of memorials there and, different stuff. I mean, some of them were really ornate and crazy.
Yeah.
It's just like anything else. The burial industry is there. It's going to make a lot of money off of you because it's getting you at a time when you're feeling very emotional. So you're going to be like, oh, we'll spend anything we can for poor Muffy, And
yeah. We
doesn't bring them back.
We saw like so many different headstones and different things like that. And it was kind of cool. I liked it. I liked that stuff. I liked seeing all the different headstones and seeing all the different stuff that the people were doing, because I thought that was pretty cool.
It's just an odd thing to me though that these are all little bundles of memory for people who live elsewhere. They're gone. They're not there. Mm-hmm. But they've all decided to deposit these little memory things together in one place.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not sure why, but that's kind of what they do. And when you think about it, why do humans do it? I mean, it doesn't really serve a purpose.
It's a memorial. It's to remember, like.
But you still have the memories. They're
right.
not going anywhere.
I mean, but then once we're dead, other people can look over and say, "Oh, these people were loved by these people."
Well, most states, the burial laws are, after a certain period of time,
you're gone.
You're gone. So you're not going to be there forever.
You're not going to be there forever.
No. If you get 60, 70 years, you're lucky.
Well, there you go. I don't know. Is Ed Wood gone then?
Well, I think he's in a burial plot that's still going, so he's okay. But if they decide to sell and turn it into condos, there ain't no laws to protect it. So
it's like the scene in like Poltergeist where
I know.
Like all the bodies get shifted up and they're like and those are real like fucking skeletons and shit.
Well, dude, I did a project down in Avon Park, Florida, which is where they used to have the old Barnum and Bailey Circus, where they would go during the off season. That's where they would hang out. And there is a cemetery there where it was all dead clowns and dead circus people. So can you imagine, a haunted cemetery of clowns?
That would be awesome.
I would love to do a movie on that. That would
be great.
And that's kind of my only criticism of this film, is that when I first saw it, I thought it was going to be in a different direction. I thought it was going to be more about the dead pets in the dead pet cemetery and less about the people. And it's still good. I still liked it. It's just that the topic itself, to me, would have been interesting. So, but if you went around and went to all these different kinds of pet cemeteries there were and talked to all the different people, that would have been interesting.
It was more about like one pet cemetery kind of issue, place, and the people that put their pets there, or whatever, 400 pets or whatever.
But I mean, nobody was making movies like that, about that. So
I mean, the movie Pet Sematary hadn't even come out. I wonder if Stephen King got his idea from watching this documentary.
I think the original story was written around that time. I think it was early '80s when Pet Sematary was written.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And so maybe I wonder if Stephen King was blazing up a doobie and watching this and going,
well,
what if a pet like came back to life?
I don't remember, but I'm pretty sure that this won an award of some kind. I don't know if it was an Academy Award, but it won something. I mean, Errol Morris is most famous for this particular film.
Yeah, this film was pretty good. I really liked it.
Yeah, it's very interesting. So
I just, yeah, you're right though. Like it did focus on the one thing, and if they had focused on more, I think it might have been a little bit more entertaining.
Yeah.
Like it did go into the business, and like if I had watched this maybe 20 years ago, I would have hated it. This would not have been my kind of movie because I would not have been interested in the business side of pet cemeteries. I just wouldn't have, it just wouldn't have been my thing. But 20 years later, being more of a I don't know, just more adult, I guess, but like more into business stuff and just going, like I never thought about it as a business, man. Maybe I could get a job doing that,
Right.
Like that kind of thing.
Well, and the thing is too is when you're making these kinds of documentaries, you're not getting a lot of funding. I mean, you're not gonna have a lot of money, so I can understand the reasoning behind.
Yeah, you have to stay in one location
because otherwise
basically.
you're flying all over the place,
Right.
and
that costs a lot of money,
and it takes a lot of time,
yeah,
a lot of research.
yeah.
So
they
I
just
get
want to
it.
make this movie and make it out, and it's pretty much talking heads most
Yeah.
of the time. Then there's some weird musical shit in it, which
Yeah.
I didn't like. Because I was looking at him going, he hates it when they play like a whole song all the way
it's
through.
like this '70s guitar rock.
Yeah,
didn't like.
but it didn't really, it really added no point to it other than like more.
The one time I got it, but then we got it again, and I was like, yeah.
One time you were fine with it, the next time not so much.
Yeah.
Like
okay.
it's like because they did it first with the guy playing or whatever, and then he does it again over by the cemetery or whatever, and I was just like what's going on?
It's almost like the guy wanted to do that. He probably asked him.
That
Can I
he
do
probably
this?
maybe paid like some
it
money
could be.
and said, "Look, I want you to show off my musical talents."
Right.
I don't know how much that helped them because I don't think people were going to that thing going, I'm looking for musical talent to put in my recording studio.
I don't think so.
I don't think so either. I don't know. It's one of those movies that some people may not like it. I'm not gonna lie. Some people may not like it just because it is a little slow.
If you're ADHD, you're gonna have trouble with it.
Right. And I got ADHD, but I'm like, I think I've become more attuned to these things and like understand like just bear with it because like I think the movie that did it for me was The Lobster, where we watched that movie and I remember I watched it on my own and I was like I watched about 5 minutes of it. I was like I'm done. And then I watched it with Paul and he was like keep watching, and I was like all right, and then I got to like through it and it got so much better.
Yeah.
But the beginning of it was just driving me crazy, and that's sort of what this movie does. Is it's a lot of older people, a lot of people in their like 60s and 70s, maybe even 80s, chatting about their animals and stuff. And then there's the business people, some of them younger, the guy at the pool talking, or whatever. We noticed he had a nice freaking pool.
Oh yeah.
We're like,
but the thing is
money.
too, you're not going to see this anywhere. This is not like a rehash of Star Wars or a rehash of Marvel or.
This isn't going to get a remake.
No, this is a completely unique film.
Mm-hmm.
So for that alone, I think it's worth it for people to search it out because you haven't seen this before. So
it's a documentary that that rocks. But I mean, I really do. I truly believe it's one of those. But it's such a okay.
It's compelling. It's very compelling.
Once again, if I weren't watching it for here, I probably would have turned it off. after a while because I'd be like, okay, you know. But because I'm reviewing it and because I'm with Paul, not by myself, I think I would have. I think I handled it a lot better than. And there was some funny things. There was some stuff where we were laughing, chuckling at that, and then there was some like very dramatic stuff or whatever, especially about the dogs and cats that died and
Plus,
stuff like that.
as filmmaker and wannabe filmmaker, it's good and it's impingent on us to look at various filmmaking techniques and different styles and the way people do different kinds of films. So it's always good to broaden your horizons that way and look at different films.
I would just say I would never be a documentary filmmaker.
I would love to.
I would hate it, just because it's just so much time consuming.
It is.
And I would rather do that on narrative films and stuff, and not. I would rather consume my time on narrative.
I would, but the problem is that style of narration of film is not.
And you have to get a crew, and you have to get.
It's
there's
all
a lot of work.
30-second jump cut. Not even 30 seconds these days. It's all like 5-second jump cuts for everything. It's all TikTok oriented, and I cannot do. I cannot.
Really, is that what the documentaries are like now?
It seems that way. Yeah, that seems to be the attention span of people anymore.
Well, I mean, hey, whatever. I, as a person with ADHD, I get it, but then again, like that movie right there is not like that. This is a very slow burn type of movie.
This is set up the camera and let people talk. And
people talk, and then you're sit there. My dad would hate this movie if he's not already seen it, but he would hate it because it is like he hates talking head movies, and he hates that movie Before Sunrise. He's not a fan of that. The Richard Linklater, Julie Delpy movie where they're walking around Paris or whatever. He was so bored by that movie.
Because it's Julie Delpy.
I know, but that wasn't the thing. He was bored by them just talking about philosophy and other shit. And I'm just like, well, I'll search your later for you. He loves doing that. Me personally, I like that. Like I like, as long as the conversation's interesting,
right,
I'll watch it. And this was interesting conversation, because I wanted to hear them talk about their pets and the different stuff, and MGM put it out. We were kind of surprised to see that a little bit. That was
probably
pretty cool.
hated My Dinner with Andre.
I haven't seen that yet. I want to buy it on Criterion or whatever.
We got to do that one. It's very interesting.
Yeah, I that's what I like. I like this stuff where if it's a dinner conversation, like there was a movie called Life Sold Separately that I really really want to see, and it's Paul Feig. And literally the whole movie was shot, I think, in like maybe one weekend or maybe like one day. But it's like literally a bunch of people who get together who haven't seen each other in forever. Not really, but like characters. They get together and they just talk, or whatever, reminisce, talk about whatever. They don't show flashbacks of anything. It's just them talking, and I like that. Like I like Clerks,
Sounds like a COVID movie.
Yeah, well, you would think, but it's actually made in '97, so it was not. It was before Freaks and Geeks, and Paul Feig, got himself out there. But I want to see that so badly, just because I like the idea of making a movie and all of it being is just a bunch of people talking and stuff. That just interests me. Slacker from Richard Linklater.
Yeah.
I mean, stuff like
That's
that.
great.
That's, to me, is way interesting. And this movie and documentaries are interesting for that. Like, documentaries don't have to show me all this cool shit, And
it's funny because
everything.
you can expand that analogy in different ways. I mean, one of the reasons why I enjoyed, some of Quentin Tarantino's movies isn't because the movie's about gangsters. I love these weird little conversations they have in between the stuff that you're supposed to be typically watching for.
Right. Yeah. Well, yeah, because most of the time it's them just like in the beginning of Reservoir Dogs talking about Madonna and shit like that, or tipping and all this other stuff.
I love that opening breakfast scene. That's my favorite thing in the movie.
Yeah, it's my favorite scene in the movie, and then it's over, and then the rest of it's good. But
the rest of it's good, but it's nothing like the opening, and you don't see that, and that's what I love to see.
Yeah, you don't see gangsters hanging around chatting about real life
tipping
shit.
and breakfast and all that.
Real life shit.
Right.
That
So
they're
you're
dealing
not
with.
going to see movies about weird people and their dead pets and burying them in a pet cemetery. So check it out. It's worth it. It's a very.
I like when
film.
people do stuff outside the box.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
this
yeah.
movie is a little outside the box. Speaking of box, they had animals that were put in a casket and stuff like that, and I was just like, really? Like I said, we don't do that because
Like
you don't
I
need
said, there's money to be made, and that's generally when when they hit you up, because that's when you're most emotional and you're not thinking clearly, and you just want to do something that you think your pet would love. The pet doesn't care,
I just think of that scene in Ed Wood where Bella's in the casket,
Oh, in the casket.
and he's like, too constrictive. I can't even fold my arms.
Yeah.
Right?
It's
This is
funny.
the worst casket I've ever seen. You should be ashamed of yourself. Right? And I was just like laughing my
I'm
ass off.
planning on dying.
I'm planning on
you
dying.
can't do that.
Oh. Oh Lord. That movie is great. If you haven't seen Ed Wood, go watch it as well.
It's
But also go watch this movie. Seriously, if you get a chance to watch it, I don't know if it's on any kind of streaming or anything. I don't
haven't
think
seen
it is.
but MGM put out the DVD.
They
don't know
do
if
have
it's
an
in
MGM
Blu-ray.
Plus streaming site, so maybe.
I don't know if it's out on Blu-ray. I don't think I've ever seen that.
Yeah, that's
but
weird.
I don't know.
I thought this was a Criterion too, and it's not, is it? No, it should be.
Yeah, it should be. But,
So Criterion, you're watching us.
yeah. Well,
go
MGM
put this out.
has the rights.
I know,
so-
but I mean, I'm sure they can make a deal with MGM, because if MGM's not putting it out on, Blu-ray or whatever, I'm sure Criterion wouldn't mind doing that. Or
Well, it would be nice to get like commentary from Earl Morris, or maybe he has
those are bare bones DVD.
an interview where he talks to some of the people 35 years later or whatever it is. That'd be kind of interesting.
Is Errol Morris still alive?
I'm pretty sure he is. Yeah,
I don't really know much about him, so.
yeah, I'm pretty sure he is.
Well, thank you, Errol Morris, because
that was fun.
your movie was really good, and if it won Academy Awards, it definitely deserved it.
Yeah, it definitely won some awards. I just don't remember what. But yeah, so there you go. So thanks for joining us on this episode of Docs That Rock, and we will be back with another documentary. Next month? Something like that.
We'll see.
We'll see.
We got so much stuff going on in life,
Yeah.
if we might have to take breaks from certain shows every now and then.
But I got a bunch more. So
He's got a ton more, and we're not even done with the first season yet.
Yeah.
We got, I think, 3 or 4 more episodes to the end of the season.
Yay, that's good.
Yeah, so you still got more shit to show us. So,
I got one that's a Criterion and a documentary. So and
perfect
it's very
combo.
interesting.
Don't do it for Criterion Watch, do it for Docs That Rock.
Yep.
I always say that sort of thing. Like, if there's something that fits both things, put it in one that's not, like if it's like a What the Fuck Friday and it's and it's on Criterion, put it on What the Fuck Friday, because like those are kind of harder to find. If we can do Criterions for like thousands and thousands of Criterions.
You can. I my Criterion collection is smaller.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Your Criterion collection is a lot smaller, but
Is the sale still going on?
not right now. Not till November.
Oh, okay.
They'll be back in November.
Gotcha.
But there's also other sales. I think there's going to be a flash sale in October.
Oh, okay.
So there'll be other sales.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us, and please catch us next time.
Bye.
Docs.